welcome to a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. I'm Coleman Domingo, back at it again with a new episode. As always, I'm joined by Babby. Huh. We have a slam dunk episode, but it is going to be a sad one.
No.
But, we'll try not to think about it too much. We'll try to keep it light, but it's true what they're saying in the news. This is the last week of Simian summer, and therefore, no more monkey talk for the foreseeable future, unless something comes up. Which, if there is a monkey in a film at some point, I will bring it up, obviously. But yeah, no more dedicated monkey talk. I know everybody's upset, or not upset, but it is funny that Charlie XCX announced today, the day of us recording, that Brat Summer is over.
Mm-hmm.
Simian Summer is also over. So it feels like the season is coming to a close naturally. And
All good things must end.
That's true. That's true. One of them has touched my life in, I don't know, an unmeasurable way. And the other one is Brat Summer. So I guess without further ado, we'll talk about the last pick in Simian Summer. I really ran the gamut this week. We have a half-star movie, a 2.5-star movie, and a 4.5-star movie to talk about. We're really running the range of quality this week, and we'll start with our half-star movie, and that is the last one for Simian Summer, Space Chimps. Which maybe unsurprisingly to most is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my whole life. And if you can believe it, they made a sequel. And I'm very curious about the sequel because Space Chimps 1 has a 2.0 on Letterboxd, which is frankly too high. But Space Chimps 2 has a 1.7, which I don't know if I've ever seen anything that low on Letterboxd. Stuff seems to float in between like a 2.5 and a 4.5. Like that's kind of the highs and lows of what I usually see. Unless it's something like Cool Cat Saves the Kids or something, like something truly awful. Then people will stand up and, do what they should and rate it a half star. But I was just surprised to see Space Jam so high, and I don't know if it's nostalgia talking, but it is pretty bad. I watched it in one sitting, and it felt like it was 2 hours, and it was 80 minutes. And at the end of it, I'm like, what am I gonna rate this? And I sat there. I was gonna give it 1 star, and then I'm like, what is the thing that's giving it a half a star? What's giving it a full star? And I sat there and I thought about it, and I couldn't think of one positive thing to say about the film Space Chimps. I will say it is probably the highest rated half-star movie. It's the highest quality half-star movie that I have seen. Because there isn't necessarily anything wrong with it, but I can't think of a single good thing to say about it. So therefore, it must be a half-star movie, just by the rules of how you rate things, I guess. But I guess we'll talk about the plot of Space Chimps. It's very important we talk about the plot of Space Chimps. It's a very plot heavy movie, I would say. It's an ironclad script, many people have said. And I know that when I was in film school, I did learn a great deal about Space Chimps. Used it in clips and screenwriting classes and such, because it is such a great script. But basically, it follows Ham, our lead chimp, who is the descendant of Ham the First. I guess our protagonist is Ham the Third, because he is the grandson of Ham the First. And as we all know, this is based on real human history. The first chimp sent off to the moon or to space was named Ham. I actually probably should have looked it up. I just assumed it was false. But for all I know, the first chimp in space could have been called Ham. I don't know. Um, Let me see. First chimp. Oh, it is named Ham. Okay. On January 31st, 1961, Ham became the first chimpanzee in space. Um, Frankly, to all of the NASA astronauts or whoever named that chimp, terrible job. Why would you name a chimp Ham? That's that's not even like a good name for like a pig, you know? Like a lot of people,
Chimpanzee.
chimpanzee. Oh, is that actually it? That
That
might
would be really stupid if it was.
that okay, that's really dumb, but I can now that you say it, I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Um, okay, chimpanzee. Okay, so I guess it is based on real, not human history. I guess just animal history. First chimp in space was named Ham, and everybody remembers him. He's a national hero. Um, might not even be American. I don't know. I know the Soviets were first in a lot of the space stuff, so it might be a Soviet um, chimp, which makes maybe more. I don't know. Does ham mean something in Russian or
I doubt it.
Yugoslavian or Georgian or whatever? I don't
I
know.
thought they sent a dog up there first.
They did. Little Leica. I know the name of
Yeah,
the
no, that's a
dog.
good name.
That's a good one. Um, uh, let's see. Okay, yes. Okay, Ham was American, or he wasn't.
Of course, he wasn't Ham.
He wasn't American, I guess you could say, because chimps aren't necessarily native to the Americas. It says for some reason he has a Wikipedia page and he has an early life section as if he's like a person.
Controversies.
I guess. Um, yeah, Ham was born in 57 in French Cameroon. So, so just so we know, he's from Cameroon. So I guess he's not American. He is a Cameroonian or Cameroonite. Cameroonian sounds correct. I feel like it's
Mhm.
probably Cameroonian. Um, so, as we all know, Ham is a national hero and everyone knows Ham. And so, Ham the Third is a disgraceful piece of shit because he's a circus ape who loves to be shot out of cannons. Um, and when he gets shot out of a cannon, he gets shot straight up, straight through the big top of the circus. And he's supposed to land on a big mat wheeled out by an old ape named Houston. Which, side note, anytime there is a character in a children's animated movie about space, there is always a character named Houston so that they can do the bit. And I know you already know what I'm going to say because
The rules.
it's the most overplayed thing in the history of the world is you have a character named Houston so that when there's a problem, one of the characters can say, Houston, we've got a problem. And then it's just actually talking to the character named Houston. This will be in every single space, not even animated movie. I'm sure that's happened in a non animated movie. Maybe it happened in Independence Day, for example. Another kind of dumb sci fi movie. Um, I'm sure it's happened. There's a dog. Isn't there a dog named Houston in Independence Day? I don't know.
Potentially.
This
It's been
sounds
a long
correct.
time since I've seen Independence Day.
All I know, or all I remember about Independence Day is that for some reason Jeff Goldblum, well, he's a scientist, and he somehow hacks into the alien network and somehow gets a countdown going from when the aliens are going to shoot a laser that will wipe out all life on Earth. And I don't know how he did that and why the aliens have a countdown in Arabic numerals that's on their mainframe. I don't care. This isn't about Independence Day. This is about a way better movie, Space Chimps. So Ham is a circus thing, and he always crashes into drums and does the same thumbs up animation because it's cheaper because you don't have to pay an animator to reanimate things. Just do
Just
the
a
same animation.
hideous movie.
It's really bad. But the crux of the plot is that generic NASA equivalent has launched a probe into space that has gone through a wormhole and landed on an alien planet that just so happens to be in the Goldilocks zone that can support life. And on it are a bunch of weirdo green aliens that are the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. And they are very peaceful people, except for one guy who's an old curmudgeon who lives in a wood shack on the top of a hill, even though there's no trees anywhere on the planet. I guess maybe that guy wiped them all out to make his shack. It is in character to do because he's a bad guy. The probe that is shot through the wormhole lands on that guy's shed, and he um, I guess the probe picks him up and scans him and is like, hey, guy, we are humans. And here are all of the great things that humans have done. And it's like showing a bunch of like big human built structures like the Eiffel Tower and the Great Wall of China and the Statue of Liberty and uh, and the Hoover Dam. That one made me laugh out loud because who thinks of the Hoover Dam as like
The eighth
oh,
wonder of the world.
the eighth wonder of the world, a giant dam, not Las Vegas, you know, the thing that's like 20
Yeah,
miles away, the big oasis in the middle of a unlivable hellscape that is the Nevada desert. No, it's the giant dam that I guess it's impressive. Maybe the creators of Space Chimps, maybe they just played New Vegas and were like, hey, that's where the final boss fight at the end of this game takes place. It must be a big landmark in American culture. And then they put it in.
they
I
got
could,
paid by big Hoover Dam tourism.
yeah. Um, I don't know why the Hoover Dam. It just made me laugh. So I thought I would bring it up. Um, so yeah, it shows this guy. I don't remember his name. It's like Clorbox or whatever his name is. It's like, you know, generic alien name. And he's like, "Ooh, I love this stuff. I want to build a big monument like that." And the probe's like, "Oh, that's cool. Let me transform into a a giant like like a chair with Doc Ock arms on it that gives you a bunch of power and strength, and it gives you the ability to control all of the other aliens on the planet." I feel like I don't have to really dig into why this is stupid and makes no sense for a NASA probe to turn into like a war machine. So I'm not even going to really bring it up, but it is dumb. And I don't know why it does this. And it's never really explained either. Like, we send probes places like Mars and space, and I don't think any of them transform into a crazy thing. The little rovers on Mars aren't going to hurt anybody. They're just going to sing happy birthday and die. And that's the truth, Ruth. So anyway, this alien is a terrible fascist dictator who forces all of his alien friends or people to work for him, or else he will dip them using his Doc Ock arms into mysterious white goo, which freezes them, turns them into statues, but they are still alive and can still see and talk, kind of, but it's muffled. Which, frankly, is a fate worse than death because you will just
Or
be
horrors
stuck.
beyond comprehension
Yeah, it really
in
is.
Space Chimps.
In Space Chimps. Um, It's I have no mouth, but I must scream.
Yeah, I must chimp.
Yes. And he subjects all of his people. He's like, you must work for me or I'm going to freeze you in white sludge, which for some reason is just on the planet. I don't know. But the I guess the ticking clock element is that the volcano is going to explode. And he's like, haha, all of the subjects like, well, he's not going to be able to survive because our planet has three suns, and when they line up, then the volcano explodes. I don't know why. It's
Free body problem.
I guess I don't know. Um, I've never heard of an astronomic phenomena influencing volcanoes, but what do I know? It could happen. And I guess it does happen. So I guess the Hoover Dam thing wasn't just like, let's think of stuff to put in here, because he does put in a bunch of dams that are going to like spew out the lava onto the onto his subject's village. Um, and I guess the subjects just put up with it because they don't want to be gooed to death. Um, so they're just like, oh, okay, I guess you're just gonna wipe out all of our homes, and we're gonna have to live nowhere, just I guess on the ground, and that's fine. And that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, on Earth, unrelated, the probe's gone missing, and a bunch of scientists. There's a lady scientist. There's a fat scientist who only ever mumbles his lines, and of course, because it was made in the 2000s, offensive Indian stereotype scientist, um, who has the thickest, the worst Indian accent. I don't know if he was played by an Indian man. I kind of hope he was, because otherwise it's horrible. But yeah, it's pretty bad. Um, and they're like, we need to send some astronauts to find the probe, because that's the next logical step. If a probe goes missing, it isn't to send another probe, it's to send living people where the probe went missing, which I guess I don't know. I guess that works. Um, and but the president of the United States is like, actually, wouldn't it be funny to do chimps? And the NASA people agree, and they decide to send three chimps. And luckily for them, they have three chimps in the NASA office as like a display. I guess the NASA headquarters also doubles as a zoo, so that when people come to work at NASA, they can also see three chimps that are just on display, because Ham was a chimp and he inspired the nation to do great things, as is true with real life. And they were like, well, he's such a monumental figure in astronomy, so we're gonna just have three chimps live in the NASA headquarters, which is true. In Cape Canaveral, they have chimps there, and a monument to Ham, the first chimp in space. But they're like, hey, this young chimp is boring and nobody likes him. He's kind of dumb and stupid, even though he's like an inventor, because he's a everybody in this movie's a stereotype. He's a whiz kid inventor who's too smart for his own good, so he can't go on the mission. So we need to track down the descendant of Ham, Ham the Third, who's a mischievous. He's kind of like Alex the Lion from the Madagascar film, where he's a big showboat and he's a big celebrity and he's very much in a bubble, and he's, very sheltered. He's a circus guy and he just likes doing circus tricks, and he likes getting applause, and he likes playing around with clowns and his old man Houston, who will have a problem later. Um, and um, so then they just get Ham and then they send them to space. And also on the mission, there's a lady chimp who is lady, who they do a romance thing with because it's a children's movie from the 2000s. But I was thinking about this on the drive home today. Pixar didn't do that. In the 2000s, Pixar really didn't do the like heavy-handed romance subplot that a bunch of kids movies did in the 2000s, and I don't know why that is. Like
because they're good.
well, I know they're good, but it's like Marlin and Dory weren't really romantic. They were just like two fish that were just hanging out. I guess the exception is Wally, because that's overtly romantic, but that's also the entire point. It's more of a romance movie than it is. It's like a romance sci-fi thing. I don't know. I just thought that was weird because I'm like, yeah, there's really no. I guess there's Bo Peep and Toy Story, but that's not really a thing. And but Monsters Inc. No, Bugs Life. Actually, Bugs Life's the exception. That one has the heavy-handed romance thing because the main aunt wants to bang the princess or whatever. Um, so I guess that is the exception. But I don't know. I just thought about that today, and I was like, why? Why? It felt like such a trope, but I guess not. Anyways, there's Lady, and then there's Patrick Warburton, who's a big soldier ape, who probably is the best part of this movie, mainly because he's voiced by Patrick Warburton, who is maybe my favorite voice actor. I don't know if I'm comfortable saying that because there's way better voice actors out there that have more variety in what they can do. But Patrick Warburton, every time I hear his voice, and it's the same voice every single time, I love it, and I can't help but love it. Whether it's Joe from The Family Guy or if it's Kronk, I love the guy. I can't help it. Even in Space Chimps, when he isn't given enough to do, he's not even really a main character, but I just love hearing his voice. He plays Big Dumb Ape, who's also the captain. Um, so yeah, they get sent to space, and then uh, I guess, does it even matter? Does the plot even matter? They land on the alien planet, and then they kick core block, and then they use the volcano to shoot up into space to go back to Earth, and then they land on a semi truck that is driven by Smart Monkey and Houston, who frankly has a problem because they're driving a truck and they're too small. Their legs are too small to reach the pedals, so they have to do it with two apes. And they land on the semi, and then they're heroes. And then NASA is saved from being turned into a, a ornamental plate store. They were going to turn NASA into a store or place that you could paint plates and then take them home and eat on them. That was what they were going to turn NASA into in this film. That was the crux. It was either we're going to send apes to get the probe from an alien planet, or we're going to turn NASA into an ornamental plate store. I don't know why those are the stakes. I don't know why that's the decision that the president of the United States decided. Um, and I also don't know why I watched this movie. I watched it on your recommendation, and you gave it a glowing recommendation, might I add. Um, you said that you loved this movie, and I want to know why. I guess it's hard to say. I guess I left
We'll
him.
never know.
We'll never know. I know you didn't say you loved it, but do you have any memory of Space Chimps?
I remember it looking so terrifying that I was just. It was one of those things like when Blockbuster was still a thing, and you'd get like, or even like Redbox.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it was one of those ones. I put it on the same level as like Alpha and Omega, which is worse.
Is it?
That movie, yeah, that
Okay.
movie it's like my least favorite movie of all time.
Wow. That's
The
intense.
animation just makes me really mad.
Well, if it's so bad, why are there 6 of them?
There's 6 of them?
Or something like that.
This is the
Oh,
worst day of my life.
never mind. There's not
Okay.
6. There's 8.
Oh my god. It's the worst day of my life.
I know. Um, oof. Yeah. Sorry about that. That really brings down the mood for everybody,
It
I
really
think.
does. Yeah. But
That's
Space
crazy.
Chimps is better, so
I
there's some charm.
I don't know.
There's no charm.
It's
But
terrible.
in
Um,
F tier animation, Alpha and Omega is a little bit worse.
okay. Well, I'll have to check them out. Maybe that'll be my next deep dive. Will be all of the Alpha and Omega movies. Actually,
That
no.
sounds awful.
Actually, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know what my next deep dive will be. I thought about that because I'm like, well, Planet of the Apes was kind of fun, but what's next? What's the next one? I don't really want to do Friday the 13th or anything like that. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Drop me some recommendations in the comments. What's going to be the next Simian summer? It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Hard to top an instant classic, but
It
we gotta move
is.
on.
It is. Um, but yeah, that's Space Chimps, and I spent 25 minutes talking about it, and it's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my whole life. It gets 10 out of 10 monkey points because it's all about monkeys, and
I
I hate that this is what it's come
feel like
to.
the worst movies have the highest monkey points.
It's funny how that works. I don't know, but you know what? This is an official marathon, and every time we do one of these, it's nice to do a little debrief. What did we
Exactly.
learn from Monkey
What did we learn?
Simian Summer? Well, we learned that turns out there's a lot of different types of movies that have monkeys in them. Most of them are terrible. But let's look back on some of the films that got the most monkey points. Well,
Roll the montage as
roll them up.
inspirational music like they do at the Oscars.
Yeah, it's like a in memoriam section of the
Yes.
Oscars where they roll all the footage of everybody that croaked, which is appropriate because all of these movies made me want to die. So, um,
Real.
yeah. Of course, we had 2 movies get 10 out of 10 monkey points on very different ends of the spectrum. Of course, Space Chimps, we just discussed. And What Did Jack Do? The David Lynch short film where he interrogates a monkey. Um, I gave that 10 out of 10 monkey points at the time. Frankly, the monkey doesn't do anything monkey related. So I might bump that down a little bit. I think Space Chimps is more about monkeys than What Did Jack Do? I think I was just excited to watch something that was good. So
The monkey in it.
with the monkey in it, I'd watched other good movies as a part of this marathon, but for some reason there weren't any monkeys in them. I don't know how that worked. So yeah, maybe What Did Jack Do? Maybe that gets an 8 because the monkey is in it the whole time, but he doesn't really do anything monkey related. Um, of course, our honorable mention, almost close for being, I don't know, Shakma got 7 out of 10 monkey points. A movie where a baboon goes crazy in a research facility and kills everybody. Also, half-star movie, absolutely terrible, not worth anyone's time. Got 7 out of 10 monkey points. So, good job, Shakma. Good job, not bedtime for Bonzo. Good job. What Did Jack Do? And good job, Space Chimps. And in the description of this podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever, I've included letterboxed lists that I've made. I've ranked all of the movies on Simian Summer, of course, by quality. I've also ranked all of the movies on Simian Summer by monkey points. So if you're curious about which movies, you know, you're like, well, I'm feeling like I want to watch a movie with a lot of monkeys in it, well, then you go to the Simian Summer Monkey Points list. But if you're like, I want to watch a movie with a monkey in it that's very good, spoiler alert, I think the highest the highest rated movie as a part of Simian Summer was 3.5 stars. So I don't know if you're going to find anything good, but if you want something good, then you go to the quality one. I've also included a list that kind of it combines my Planet of the Apes list and the Simian Summer list. So I'm calling that my 2024 monkey mental break. And that is also that is also going to be in the description. So if you want to see where the Planet of the Apes movies rank in comparison to all of the Simian Summer movies, then that's going to be down there too. Spoiler alert again, the Planet of the Apes movies are way better than most of the Simian Summer movies because most of those are terrible. I think as a part of the monkey mental break, I think there was 5 movies that I watched this summer that I gave half stars, which is rare. I feel like I've been saying that a lot, like I've been giving out a lot of half stars, but I hardly ever do that. It really takes something special to be that bad. Even Every Which Way But Loose, something I hated, I gave 1 star because the monkey was funny. And in 5 movies, I couldn't find one redeeming quality. So I think that's just kind of shocking. But
Akmo even.
it's shock mine, I guess you could say. So yeah, that was Simian Summer. A great idea on paper. I'll let you finish the rest of what that saying is. Um, what will we do Simian Summer next year? I've given it some serious thought,
Time will tell.
and the answer is maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to think of way more monkey movies because it was a stretch. I mean, 12 Monkeys and Iron Monkey didn't even have monkeys in them, which we've already talked about. Very misleading title. And frankly, anybody who likes those movies should really seriously reconsider.
Not a
Even
real monkey lover.
exactly. Even though Iron Monkey was the highest rated one, it still is very misleaded and dumb. So that's Simian Summer. We can put this monkey to bed now, much like Ronald Reagan did in his hit film Bedtime for Bonzo. We can move on. We can move on with our lives. We can
Get on with
stop
our
thinking
lives.
about monkeys. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. We can stop thinking about those quirky little primates. Okay. I watched 2 other movies this week. One of them I'm barely going to talk about because I don't have a lot to say. But the other one I'm also probably not going to talk a whole lot about because it is in theaters right now and I don't want to spoil it because it is very, very good. So the mid one that I watched was 10 Things I Hate About You. Is that what that movie's called?
Sounds correct.
Let me see if this is correct. Okay. That is what the movie's called. Why is it called that? There is no 10 things I hate about you. There's no list. Frankly, this is a terrible name for this movie.
They didn't do a Scott Pilgrim thing where they have to like announce every single X.
No, they didn't.
They should have done that.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, so I watched this movie. I guess. So it's an adaptation of the hit Shakespeare play, The Taming of the Shrew, but very turn of the century. Like, it was made in 1999, but like the fashion is very early 2000s. The music choice is so like 2000s, 90s. Like, I was just laughing all the time while I was watching this. I'm like, man, like this song, like it really takes me back. It's weird. Um, but this movie stars Heath Ledger. Well, actually, he's not even the main character. The two people on the poster are not the main characters. The main character is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he has a crush on pretty popular girl Bianca. Um, and but he can't go out with her because her dad um, is terrible, and I don't know. He's a terrible dad. Really, really bad. He's super controlling of his kids. I don't know if that's supposed to be the takeaway because it seems like a very 90s thing for like 90s dad. Oh, my daughter can't date anyone or I'm going to be upset.
Going to
Ah,
murder you
I'm
with a
going
shotgun.
that yeah, like those classic shirts where it's like, you want to date my daughter? Well, I got 6 slugs of
Dads
deer.
against daughters dating.
Yeah. It was very like that. And so the dad's like, no dating until you turn 18. And pretty popular girls like, but I want to date hot model guy who isn't Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And her dad's like, okay, you can only date when your ugly bitch sister dates. I'm using the term that would have been acceptable in the time because they throw that around all the time, all over the place. Um, Regarding Julia Stiles' character, um, and she's a feminist. Gross, yuck. She's against the patriarchy, and she's kind of like a hippie alt rocker feminist chick. And so basically, the ugliest, most disgusting person on the planet. Because who even likes feminism, right? I mean, hey, it's the 90s, okay? Nobody likes feminists, especially if they talk too much. Stop yapping and get back to class and just stay quiet because I don't want to hear anything from you, you feminist trash. That's the attitude of the film. And it treats her as if she's like the ugliest person on the planet when she's clearly not. She maybe is a little bit too, I guess the modern term is like pick me, where she's like, oh, you like this thing? Well, it actually is super, whatever. It's actually very problematic and dumb. And aren't I cool for being like that? So she is kind of annoying, but like people like treat her like she's like a monster, a hideous monster that nobody would ever want to date, which is why the dad is like, you can only date if your annoying sister can date. And so basically, the popular girl's like, oh, I just can't date because nobody would dare date my feminist monster sister. And so Joseph Gordon-Levitt is like, I know, I'm going to sick the other weirdo alt rock kind of guy, Heath Ledger, because he'll want to date Julia Stiles, and so it's a big, it's like a misunderstanding kind of movie. It's one of those type of romance movies where it's like, I'll pay you $300 if you take out this ugly chick. And he's like, okay, fine, but just so that I have enough money to smoke and do beer. But then he takes her out on a couple of dates. He's like, wait, I think I'm in love. And then they start falling in love. And then at the end, at prom, it comes out that Heath Ledger was paid to go out on a
I think
hot
I've
date.
heard this before.
I know. It's the most formulaic thing ever. It's like, what? You only went out with me because you were paid to? Oh, I hate you so much, Heath Ledger. And Heath Ledger's like, why are you being so serious? It was a goof. It was a goof. But she isn't having any of that because she's an emotional woman who should have just, sucked it up and just kept going out with Heath Ledger. But Heath Ledger actually is a good guy because in the end, he buys her an electric guitar, and she's an alt rock hippie feminist chick. And she's like, wow, Heath Ledger, you used the money that you got to go on a hot date with me because I'm so ugly and repulsive to you. You used that money to get me a guitar because you love me. Oh, Heath Ledger, you could never do anything wrong. You're the cutest, sweetest boy on the whole planet. I love you so much. And then title crawl, and then the credits roll, and everyone lives happily ever after, except for the fact that she's going to school on the East Coast, and this movie, I guess, was shot in Seattle, even though it seems like the most San Francisco school I've ever seen in my whole life, but whatever. It literally has, there's a football field with giant stone coliseum seating, and one of the end zones is facing the ocean. And I'm like, well, that's the most bay thing I've ever seen in my whole life. But I guess it was shot in Seattle, even though there's no Space Needle anywhere in the skyline. I felt ripped off. So that did make me a little upset. But yeah, that's the film. 10 Things I Hate About You. Also, Bernard from Santa Claus is in it.
Ooh,
You know Bernard.
of course.
Yes. The elf that gives Charlie, I think his name is, the snow globe, and the kid goes, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Which is probably my favorite line read in any film ever. I don't know why he says it like that, but it's my favorite. Yeah, he's in it. He plays Joseph Gordon-Levitt's friend, who I'm going to point out something. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The generic 90s rom-com movie didn't establish something. You're telling me that the film that adapted The Taming of the Shrew didn't really make sense? Believe it or not, it's true. Because Joseph Gordon-Levitt is an army brat. I guess he moves around to different schools all the time, and he just moves to this school in San Fran, Seattle, and he's like, I have no friends. Oh, but I want to date the popular girl. And so it cuts directly from him being in the counselor's office to him in the courtyard with Bernard from Santa Claus. And he's like, one thing you gotta know, kid, is that there's cliques in this school. And basically, you got the jocks, and you got the skaters, and you got, I don't know if this was a trend, but you got a bunch of white people that love reggae and have dreads. That's a clique. It isn't like
Oh,
they're
that's the most San Fran thing.
yeah. See, this is what I'm saying. So I don't know if that was a thing because it isn't like they smoke weed. They're not like stoners. They're just white people that like
Just like
reggae
reggae.
and have dreads. And they and they speak in Jamaican accents.
Yeah, of course.
What is that? There's like patois.
Patois.
Yes, yes, they speak in the patois accent. Um, and I'm just like, why? They aren't stoners. I think they might say like, oh, and they smoke weed, but like that isn't. They aren't described as stoners. They're described as reggae fans, which is funny because the Prom plays ska. I don't know if that was a thing either, but it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, why is nobody skanking? They're like slow dancing to ska. It's the weirdest thing. Like everyone else is dancing, but Heath Ledger and Ugly Feminist Girl are like just slow dancing to ska. And I'm like, why? Why is this a thing? All in all, I guess you could say it's a classic. So that's 10 Things I Hate About You. It's okay. It's not terrible, and it's pretty good. I like Heath Ledger a lot. I love him in the gay cowboy movie. So I was very happy to see him in something that he wasn't playing a gay cowboy or the Joker. And I liked seeing Bernard. Why isn't he in anything anymore? He should be in more movies. Hey,
So we learned something awful he did.
please tell me that he's okay. Oh, no, let me go to his Wikipedia page and see if there's a controversies. Okay, there's no controversies segment on
Okay, that's good.
Wikipedia. Let's go to personal life. Okay, let's see. Um, oh, okay, okay. Well, he's apparently he had cancer in 2011, but
Okay.
in 2012 he was pronounced cancer free.
Oh,
So all I'm saying, Christopher Nolan likes to do this where he picks some actors that are maybe a little bit past their prime and he elevates them to new heights. All I'm saying, in Oppenheimer 2, maybe you
hmm,
cast David Krumholtz is his name, or otherwise better known as
great
Bernard,
actor name.
of course. You
The
know,
hospital bills ain't cheap. You got to get some roles going here.
that's true. That's true. Let's see. It looks like he's. Wait, he was an Oppenheimer.
Wait, he was.
That's crazy. I just went to that's awesome. I didn't know that before I made that joke. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Um
Never mind.
never
Continue
mind.
on.
Never mind. He doesn't need to be an Oppenheimer too. He's already in the first one. Wow, I do not remember him being in that movie at all. That is maybe he's just like one of the random communists or something that's in like one of the parties that he goes to. Or maybe he's
I could see
assigned.
him being a communist.
You could?
He's got the face.
He doesn't have the dreads anymore like he had in Santa Claus. Were
That's
those
good.
dreads? Why did
They,
he have,
they definitely resemble dreads.
why did he have that haircut in the Santa
I don't
Claus?
know.
I don't know either. Um anyways, yeah, The Santa Claus is a great film, a great Hollywood Christmas classic. Um and frankly, I can't wait to watch his show, The Santa Claus Show. Um I think it's out, or maybe it isn't.
I hope not.
I think it's called The Santa Clauses. Okay, yeah, it came out in 2022. So I'm going to go ahead and watch that. I'm sure it's great. I love
That
Tim
might give you
Allen.
more brain damage than a half of Simian summer.
That's true. It would be great if like it's like the Santa Claus, but then Tim Allen's like, whoa. They're like they try to do like, hey,
You can't say anything anymore.
they're like, hey, Mrs. Claus should be on the sled. And then Tim Allen's like, oh, I don't think women should be in places of power. They should just do stuff like that.
That'd be pretty good.
It would be a good twist. Isn't he supposed to be a bad guy anyways? He's
Tim
kind of
Allen.
well, yeah, but like his character. His character, Scott Calvin. I don't,
We do got two first names. He's definitely evil.
yeah. And I remember that name because when he goes to the North Pole, I've seen this movie so much because we watch it every year. Um, he goes to the North Pole and then he comes back and he has engraved pajamas. He has silk red pajamas and it
Mm-hmm.
has his initials on it, SC. And so everyone's like, well, oh wow, you have your initials on um,
I
your
see.
pajamas, but it's actually Santa Claus.
They could have chose a better last name than Calvin.
Coffin, like Scott
Oh,
Coffin,
Scott Coffin.
like from the Five Nights at Freddy's guy.
Ooh, that'd be good.
That would be a little tip of the hat to one of the
And then he's
all-time
played
greats.
by Tim Allen.
It's it makes sense because
It's the perfect crime.
Scott Coffin's like a terrible conservative who donates to like Marjorie Taylor Greene campaign. So like it makes sense for Tim Allen to be playing him.
I suppose, yeah.
Well, just taking his namesake, I guess. He isn't playing Scott Coffin or whatever. He's just taking his name so that he can be Santa Claus. This has gotten off the rails. This was supposed to be a discussion about a 90s rom com starring Heath Ledger and ugly feminist girl. I should probably look up her actual name so I can stop calling her that, but that's what the movie wants me to call her. You gotta trust me on this. Her name is Julia Stiles, which is a name I've heard before. So She's probably a big star. Speaking of stars, let's talk about another film that I watched. It's an A24 film, but I didn't know that until the ending credits. It is Sing Sing. Have you heard of this hit film?
No, I have heard of the hit film Sing, as well as Sing 2.
Well, I guess you could say Sing Sing in a way is kind of like Sing 2 because there's two
Okay,
sings in the title.
that's true.
Um, Not a musical or about a singing competition, and frankly, it doesn't star animals. Um, it's
Unfortunate.
yes, it's about the Sing Sing prison. It's a correctional facility in Tennessee. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Um, Basically, it's a movie about the theater department at the Sing Sing prison. It's a group of prisoners that get together and they put on theatrical performances as a way of like rehabilitating and like kind of getting in touch with some of their emotions that, you know, are kind of designed to be suppressed in the American prison system, which turns out is a pretty bad system.
What?
I know. It's a crazy thought. And this movie has a whole lot to say. But I'll just like say right off the bat, I'm not going to go too much into spoilers. I will go a little bit into the kind of overview of what the movie's about. But I think it's also kind of cool that a lot of the people in the movie are playing themselves. The main character is played by Coleman Domingo, and then there's one other guy. His name in the film is Mike. He is played by an actor, and then the person that is playing the director of the like the show that they put on is also an actor. But other than that, all of the other main characters are played by their real life uh, equivalents, which is super cool. I don't know if these people are still in prison. I would imagine not, just because I don't know how that would work.
They are.
It,
They better be getting paid.
well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it would work because Sing Sing is a pretty, it's like a high security prison from what my understanding. Um, so I don't know how they would like loan prisoners out to an A24 set. I don't know if that's a thing that can happen. So I imagine that all of these people are probably free now. I don't know, just my assumption. Um, but I just thought that that was kind of cool. They at the end of the credits they kind of like show, okay, these are the people who are actors, and then it's just like blank as himself, blank as themselves. Like I'm like that's cool. I like that they kind of shown a spotlight on, you know, people that maybe aren't like traditional actors. You know, they learned acting through a rehabilitation program in prison, which is not a road that most actors go on, believe it or not. Um, but yeah, the movie is about Coleman Domingo's character is kind of the ringleader. He's the one of the founders who founded, I believe it's called RTA, which stands for Rehabilitation Through Acting. Aha! I remembered it. Okay, yeah, he founds this program to kind of help prisoners in Sing Sing, and the movie kind of follows. There's this new guy who they recruit, and he's kind of super hard edge. Like you can tell he's kind of like a gangster, drug dealer type fella. Still, I guess, a drug dealer in prison. Um, I guess, uh, I guess you can do that. I've never been to prison, so
What?
I don't know the logistics of it. Don't have firsthand experience, so I guess you can still be a drug dealer in prison. But he is kind of like the movie is it's Coleman Domingo as like kind of the lead, and he is getting a lot of buzz on his performance. But I would say that kind of the emotional um, connection for the audience is this the new guy that shows up, who is playing himself. He's not an actor, And it's kind of cool to see his transformation from someone who's super hard into like someone that is more in touch with their emotions and is able to um, process them in a healthy way. I thought that that part of the movie was probably the most well done part. Um, and also, another big detail that I thought was very, very nice is that I think a lot of prison movies, even though a lot of prison movies are great, they often have a figurehead that represents the prison industrial complex, whether that be an evil warden or an evil guard. Um, and while that does make it easily recognizable for an audience, it is kind of misleading, as as in to say, well, the system's not bad. It's just this one guy that's bad, which is what happens a lot, as I'm sure you are aware, where it's like, well, this thing isn't bad. It's just there's a bad apple, and it's a misrepresentation of a system that otherwise worked. Um, Even Shawshank, which is a movie I think in a lot of ways is perfect, kind of falls into that trap of evil warden and evil guard, um, where the problem isn't necessarily that. It's that the system is built in a way to keep people in and to punish instead of rehabilitate. Um, so, but this movie doesn't fall into that. There is no evil warden. There is no evil guard. The worst thing, or like the closest thing that comes to an antagonist, is the leader. Right? Not even leader, but at one point Coleman Domingo has a it's a parole board. I'll just call it that. It isn't exactly that because there's some details that are revealed in the movie, but it's equivalent to a parole board. And he goes there and does an interview where the interviewer is very clearly going to deny him from the start, based on nothing else. Like he has like basically ironclad evidence that proves his innocence. He has a confession tape because he is essentially accused of murder, and because they, a lot of times they just get the wrong guy, and he's been in jail for like 10 plus years. He has the evidence that would prove his innocence, but the parole board denies him simply on the fact that the person that recorded that tape is no longer alive, and so therefore they have no one else to punish. So there was a crime that was committed, and we can't just let that crime be, even though you are completely innocent. And we recognize that we have to keep you in here because we have to punish someone. Um, and I think that is done in a way that is very, very well done. And that it isn't like, look at this evil person. It's this person is a greater representation of how the system works. Um, and I thought that that was very well done, kind of a very clever way to kind of avoid that misstep of having a evil figurehead. And that is a theme that continues is how the prison industrial complex continues to keep people down and not let them you know rehabilitate and kind of get to a mental place where once they do get out they're able to succeed. um, and I think that it's a very touching story, obviously, because it is people that are working to overcome despite that system being in place. Um, but it's you know, I don't know. It's very very well done, and I recommend that everyone go see it. I wanted to see it this weekend because I saw a news story saying that it was already leaving theaters. I didn't even know it was out. I thought it came out like later in September, because I had heard some buzz about it and heard really great things, and I knew I was going to see it. But then I saw a news story that kind of popped up on my phone saying that it was leaving theaters. So, if at all possible, I want to, this podcast to be a PSA. Please go see Sing Sing. Um, it's not necessarily something you need to see in theaters, but it is, it's a good way to support art that is actually trying to say something, as opposed to the most recent Marvel product or Disney product, whatever. It isn't just out there to fill a screen so that we can make some cash. It's actually trying to say something and tell a really great story while doing so. So please go see it. It's very, very good. Um, yeah, probably it's my probably in my top three movies of the year. Um, I think, and this isn't necessarily a spoiler, I do think that the third act kind of it loses its footing a little bit. But I think that doesn't take away from the really great things that the movie accomplishes. So still very, very good. I just couldn't quite give it a perfect score because I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into it because it will spoil it, and I want everybody to see this movie. So go see Sing Sing. Watch 10 Things I Hate About You, and also watch Space Chimps. All of which are equal quality to me.
True.
I'll say that. And that's something I'm willing to put on record.
Good, because it is on record.
It is on record, and it is public, and everyone is going to make fun of me, and that's fine.
It's okay.
It's okay. I don't care. Why would I care? Anyways, that's it for me. I watched 3 hit films, and now it is my turn to pass it over to Babby for his turn, talking about music.
Great. Okay. The news section is going to be the majority of this today. It's a flip flop.
News.
News. This was maybe the biggest year or biggest weekend of the year when it comes
Really?
to announcements.
And
It
it's been
was
this year's
literally
been
one after
huge.
the other, one after the other. It was kind of insane. Um, we'll start with the Smile. Why not?
Why
Because I've
not?
been talking about the Smile for the past 2 weeks. They've been making some weirdo moves. They started with this weird vinyl only exclusive thing that just popped up in record stores. Then we got we got a single on Spotify, um, and then they sent out some really cryptic things on social media.
Oh,
Some computer wizards were decoding some ciphers, and they officially announced their record this week. Um,
heyo.
so this is Cutouts coming out October 4th. This is a full length record, second of the year, which is crazy to say. Um, yeah, this we got 2 singles with this. We got Foreign Spies and Zero Sum. Foreign Spies is pretty solid. Zero Sum is insane. Black Midi broke up, and Tom York was like, "I'll take that, thank you." Uh, Seems like they were like so close to going off the deep end with that record, but it's probably one of the best Smile songs.
Oh,
I enjoy it a lot. It's so quirked up. Um, I'm assuming all of these are from the same sessions of Well of Eyes. Um, so I'm guessing my biggest worry is like it's gonna blend in too much with that record. But after hearing Zero Sum, I'm like, this thing's a lot crazier than anything off of Wall of Eyes in terms of just like in your face quickness. Um, but yeah, I'm excited. I may be the least excited out of everything that is news this week for
really?
this record, but I'm still excited.
Okay.
Um, Wall of Eyes is great. I think it's really nice. I don't go back to it a whole lot. It's one of those records that is like so masterfully put together that it's almost boring, which is really weird. Um, but I was not expecting 2 in 1 year. It's very interesting. So I'm hoping this isn't a leftovers thing. I'm hoping there's a whole vision across this thing. Smile Records do not have the shelf life of Radiohead records, so it's a little bit different when it comes to these being released. I don't think there's going to be any grand theme or anything. Um, there hasn't really been that. They've just been some really solid tracks. But excited to see what else they have in the tank because 3 records in 2 years, which is crazy. So yeah, that's coming out. Talk about that when it comes out.
Of course.
Okay. Also, October 4th, new Godspeed record.
Oh,
Yes, I knew this was coming. Did not know it was going to pop up randomly. Podcast timing has been atrocious the past couple of weeks, but they are back. This is their first in 3 years. The title is No Title as of 13th February 2024, 28,340 dead.
Oh,
Godspeed is back. Yeah.
okay.
Um, yeah. So this is exactly what I was expecting from them, and I'm glad this is what we're getting from them. We heard some leaks, not really leaks. They were just trying the new material live. It felt very charged. It felt very fiery. And yeah, this is going to be a dense, heavy record. Um, I don't know if they're going to change the title or if this is officially the title because it is not 13th February of 2024 anymore. Um,
Yeah.
this is obviously a Gaza genocide reference here, which
Mhm.
I'm assuming, like, I was assuming this is the direction they were going to be going. Godspeed only really pops up if they have something to say, and their best records do say something.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a very impactful record, I think. Um, I don't know. I think the numbers are up to like 80 to 100,000, so they're very far behind with this album title. But I do understand the naming of it. Um,
Yeah.
it'd be interesting if they updated it to like when like the numbers on the day of release.
Mhm.
That would be an interesting concept because the album doesn't really have a title. It's
Right.
more of just a statement. The cover kind of is the same way, just this weird image with a whole bunch of like a cardboard taped up wall with a whole bunch of equipment. Um, and if you need any more, these song titles are crazy. We have Sun is a Whole, Sun is Vapors, Babies in a Thundercloud, Raindrops Cast in Lead, Broken Spires at Dead Capital, Pale Spectator Takes Photographs, and Gray Rubble Green Shoots. It's about an hour long. We did get one single. We got the outro was a single actually, so Gray Rubble Green
Oh.
Shoots. Um, it sounds like it's going to be movements again, which what they usually do. I know starting with their 2021 record, they still kept the long songs, but they split them up into separate movements of
Mhm.
songs. So I don't know when songs are going to end and start, but Grey Rebel definitely sounds like it is the last movement in something. I'm guessing it'll break into three movements because that's what people were kind of identifying when they were playing their live stuff.
Mm.
But the single is fantastic. Yeah, it's weird giving the outro as a single first, but it's also just a really fantastic song. Um, it's got this just like energy and hope to it, and then the back half is just like desolate and like horrifying. Um, yeah, there's something different with this group because it is just they give you a context through album titles, track names, and artwork, and it's up to you to put together the rest of the pieces. And you can only get that like deep of an emotional connection when you are so like when it gives you this kind of information, because the music doesn't have any lyrics or anything. It's just movements of post rock, um, but it's extremely powerful. So I'm so excited for this. I think it's going to be fantastic. There is vocal credits on one of the songs, so I'm interested to see what that is. I don't think it'll be singing of any sort. I'm sure it'll be a poem or spoken word or a sample of something because that's usually how they do.
Sure.
But yeah, very excited. Also on October 4th. So
Oh,
now we have
jeez.
Greep, we have Godspeed, and we have the Smile all coming out on one day. Um, so
Oh
if you know
boy.
any annoying music people, do not hit them up that day.
No.
But yeah, I am seeing them live. I'm seeing them uh, beginning of November. Um, so this might be the most charged concert of my entire life.
Probably.
Uh, very very relevant subject matter when we're just going to be done voting for who between the two people who can figure out who to give Israel the most money. So should be great. I'm expecting the show to be like a pretty monumental thing to go to. But extremely excited. Check out the single, buy the record, you know, do the stuff. But I'll be talking about that extensively when it comes out. All right, biggest one. Much like Simian's summer, I literally just finished my Phil Elverum deep dive. We ended on the same week, which I think was very poetic. We spent
It's
our summers doing two wildly different things, and we have two wildly different outcomes from said things.
yeah, that's true. Yours was way more
um,
positive.
yeah, yeah. I got some life changing music, and you got some monkeys.
I did.
Uh, a lot of disappointment,
Yeah.
but some good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But in typical me fashion. I got timing really hard. Um, so we just did Mount Erie. That's gonna be on the channel this week. That was my last step until well, this leaked a little bit early. He officially announced it today. But new Mount Erie record coming out November 1st. It's called Night Palace. Um, the store page is leaked on like a app called Shop, which I think is like one where you can like track your packages. I think the unlisted web page on his website accidentally got leaked, um, which is a little bit unfortunate, but uh, you know, it's fine. We got a full announcement now, and I'm glad he did a full announcement because there's a lot of things he had to say about this. Um, but it's already shaping up to be very different than any other Mount Erie album in terms of scope. It is an hour and 21 minutes, and it is 26 songs, um, which is pretty beefy. So we got two singles today. We got, what do we get? Uh, Broom of Wind and I Walk. So two singles out of 26. I think those will be the only singles we get. Um, I have his newsletter, so he sent out an entire write up on his newsletter today. It's a really nice write up, basically contextualizing where he is at and what this album is trying to do. Um, and I think with the first two singles and the way that sounds too, this is going to be like a kind of you can shelve all of the 97 to 2020 as like one gigantic project, and then this feels like we're kind of starting a rebirth a little bit, because the styles I think are going to be different. The last couple records I would say from Crow onward have all been very simple acoustic driven songs with like almost stream of consciousness, journalish type writing styles, which I think are all pretty fantastic. But with this one, we're seeing the return of drones, of noise, of electric guitars, of fuzz, of all the good stuff that you get with the microphones label and not really with the Mount Erie label. Um, so, very excited for that. Broom of Wind is a pretty sick song. It's an hour and 40. It's a nice little, I don't know. He always has like these sub 2 minute songs that always come off really well. Um, there's a little bit of like Americana almost in it. It's got this like a little bit older uh, acoustic kind of folk song. It's really great. But I Walk, I think, is the star of the show here. This song is phenomenal. Sounded like it's something off of Sauna, but kind of mixed with something later, like Now Only, keeping this kind of writing style, but letting the poetic stuff kind of flow back in a little bit more. Um, it's a fantastic song. The way the guitars build on the track and just create an amazing atmosphere. I think this is incredibly refreshing too, because ever since 2017 with Crow, it has been like very difficult to get through every one of his releases after because it is so like, a giant bomb went off and it's just trying to recover from that. Um,
Sure.
but it's been 8 years and we're finally getting like something that feels like a reinvention of his style. He was talking a lot about, um, kind of being like embarrassed of Lost Wisdom Part 2 because he didn't feel like it was a grand vision, and the way like his relationship ended with a divorce on that record, he was just not too into that. The autobiography of Microphones in 2020, which it's phenomenal. But I feel like that record really puts the cap on that kind of style that he's doing. So this feels new. He said he's at peace and he wasn't afraid to really like sit down and craft an album with narratives and different ideas, because he said for a while he was shutting all that out because once you lose someone like that, like all of the kind of poetic stuff just exits. You can't really go back to it without feeling like embarrassed or like feeling like what am I doing. But that seems to be coming back here. I think it's going to be mixed with that kind of thing. um, but yeah, I think this is going to be an experience for sure. um, I am so excited for this. It's weird that like literally the day that I finished the discography, he's like, "Here's another one." So that video is gonna be delayed a little bit, but I think it'll be worth it. So we're probably looking at December for that now, but that's fine. It gives me time. Um, but yeah, I am super excited. A couple of song titles that stick out. We're getting the Glow Part 3. which is interesting.
Oh,
We're getting the Gleam Part 3, which was interesting. Huge Fire, which was a single he put out in 2022, but I think it was deleted everywhere, so you can't really access that anymore. I'm guessing this will be a little bit of a reworked version. Um, we have non metaphorical decolonization. Another thing he was talking about is he's trying to put more like social issues and social commentary in this album, because it is something that he hasn't like really dove into as much, and he does have interesting views when it comes to that stuff. So I'm very interested to seeing how like he connects all that with his usual themes in his music. Um, so yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, if you're interested in this, definitely check out the record. It is $29 for a 2 LP, which is insane in the current vinyl market.
yeah, that's true.
um, yeah, it comes with a, what is this thing? A 62 by 43 poster, which is
Oh,
essentially a
wow.
large blanket. Um, every single song has a like write up of the original poems, because this was all written in a notebook and then translated into songs and fit in a narrative. So you get the original poem and you get the lyrics and you get the photography to go with it. It is all on one side of a poster. So he's known for doing large posters, but this might be the biggest thing that he's done poster wise. But there's also a book that comes with this thing that you can buy. This has the original poems as he was writing this thing from like 2022 to this year. So you can also pick that up. There's also the Glow Part 2 shirts for the first time ever. He's never done the elephant on a shirt before,
Really?
which I didn't realize. It's just all been bootlegs and like Redbubble
Oh,
designs.
sure.
So he doesn't like the idea of like uh, putting art on the merchandising, like kind of like, oh, put it on this, put it on that. Um, he has a very lengthy Substack post about this release and where he's at mentally and physically and all that. So if you're interested, read it. It's really nice. But yeah, we're gonna have a mix of Zen, life, death, Buddhism, Night Palace, all this kind of thing thrown into an 80-minute record, which I am just really, really ready for. So we're eating good in the next couple months, safe to say. And the weekend is teasing stuff, so that
Yes.
might still happen this year. Um, yeah,
It's still a busy year. I
it's
was gonna,
still a busy
I was gonna
year.
say it's gonna be, but I'm like, actually, have I forgotten the last like 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, yeah. So my list is gonna get shaken up big time, like right before we need to start like getting these things a little bit more tidy.
Yeah.
Um, but that's okay because we're gonna get some fantastic music out of it. I think he's only doing 4 shows right now. I think that'll expand into a tour next year because 2 of them are in Washington, and then he has like an LA one. So, um, very small knit kind of tour. But I'm assuming as a working musician, he would have to tour a little bit more. I don't know if the final sales are gonna really like bring him to where he wants to be with this, but if he comes to my neck of the woods, I'm going. So,
Of course.
yeah, so that was all the news. Big news week. Um, the weekend or the podcast after October 4th is going to be a BV one.
It
So
is.
the 2 records I listened to this week. Um,
Hmm.
so Duster dropped a surprise album.
Oh,
Let's talk about that. I didn't realize they dropped one until like 2 o'clock on Saturday, and that's just not right. So they just like put it out of nowhere. This is In Dreams. This is their third since 2019. Um, pretty solid. I don't know how much you can say about a Duster record. It is good, fantastic little slowcore thing. They're mixing it up a little bit. It's a little bit more vocal heavy than their other stuff. Um, but still really, really nice to put on when you're working or going somewhere or doing anything. It's just really fantastic to have more in the background, but there's still some really great textures and tracks on here, and it doesn't feel too dustery that like it kind of falls in with the rest of their discography. And there's some moments on here that do stand out. But yeah, that was a treat for sure. Um, other record, Magdalena Bay.
ah,
I
you
gave I
listened to
gave
it.
in and listened to it. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. We have too much doing like on the main channel. Like we wouldn't get to this until October when I'm already gonna be like knee deep in other stuff. So getting it out of the way. But this is Imaginal Disc. This is my first Magdalena Bay record because Mercurial World is still on Babjab's wheel.
Of
So
course.
we might do that eventually. Um, but yeah, this is really, really good. I don't think people were overhyping it that much. I mean, it's still maybe a little bit overhyped currently, but I think it'll level out.
Yeah.
um, yeah, because this came out and it was immediately like the first, like the best of the year. And I'm like, okay, calm down. The site gets to a point now where everybody just like review bombs positively everything to like get it
Yeah.
to number one, and then it'll kind of settle out. Um, but this thing is really impressive. It is very synth pop forward. I've heard the term like maximal pop kind of thrown around, and that fits pretty well here. Um, it's just really, really, really fun. Very psychedelic, very synth poppy. The movements on here are fantastic. It doesn't feel like there's like too many ideas going on or anything. It flows very nicely to a point where like because some of these like I don't know, pop records or like hyper pop records do too much in one song and it's too much to like really take in at once and it kind of muddies everything. This has a really fantastic balance of like incredibly catchy hooks, memorable choruses, great synth pop kind of like movements as tracks go on, great like dance tracks, and it all flows really, really, really well. I think when I think of like pop in 2024, I think it is kind of this and
Mm.
Brat when it comes to like forward thinking pop records. They're two completely different styles too, because Brat kind of takes a lot of inspiration from 2000s and 2010s, but this one feels like it's truly like borrowing from this kind of 90s synth nostalgia that's been bubbling up with all these different like more shoegazy dream poppy releases, and then it's mixing it with just like really, really, really good catchy pop music, and it's fantastic. So, yeah, check it out. It is really, really, really fun. I would think it's very easy to get into. Definitely maximal. So you're just gonna be on a ride the whole time. But yeah, it is really great, and it deserves all the praise it's getting. So just
Mm.
shaking up my list again. Um,
Perfect.
but yeah, I think that is it. Um,
Mm.
I think
That's
so.
it.
I think
Should
so.
I give the Magdalena Bay a listen or should
I
I
think you
wait?
should.
Okay. Okay. I'll listen to
I
it.
think we'll do Mercurial World on the channel
Okay.
eventually. So,
Okay. Well,
but
yeah,
I think you would enjoy this one.
I'm sure I would. I saw it come up and I'm like, should I wait? But if you listen to it, then I'll listen to it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. I've heard great things, so I'll check it out. Why
It
not?
is very good. Yeah. Oh yeah, there is a Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds album that came out this week. I have not gotten to that yet. I will
I
talk about it next week.
Yeah, I've heard great things about that too. I
I'm sure
don't
you'd love that one.
I don't know if a Nick Cave is necessarily for me, but I think he has one song that I like. I remember because I've been listening to a lot of just like folk playlists trying to find
Hmm.
new music, and I think his stuff has come up a couple times. And I remember one of them was like, "Oh, this actually is pretty good."
Yeah,
So
it was probably like something off of Ghosteen or Skeleton Tree.
maybe I have no idea.
I do have Let Love In on my wheel and the semi yikes.
You do. I saw that.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking at because I was adding some stuff to my wheel because I've
Mm.
listened to some new albums
Okay.
this week. I listened to Collapse List by Novo Amor, I think is how you say the name. I'm not
Hmm.
sure. Are you aware of this man?
Kind of, but I have not heard the music.
Okay. It's very, very good. It's, I guess, maybe, I don't even know how to describe it. It feels kind of Bon Iver inspired, and I say that just because he sounds like Bon Iver. I don't necessarily think that the music does, but he does the falsetto thing
Mm.
because Bon Iver did it, and it's cool to do it.
True.
But it is, it's very, very nice. It's, I guess, folk. I don't know. It's really hard to pin down what this is. Let me see if I acoustic roots indie. I guess indie is probably just the best word for it. But I listened to the song Copathetic, which I'm trying to coin a type of song that it is, where it starts relatively stripped back, maybe an acoustic guitar. It cuts out for maybe, I don't know, a couple measures, and then it blows up into this huge, grand orchestral climax. Um, I can think of at least two songs that do that off the top of my head. That being this song and Your Name on a Grain of Rice, which is one of my favorite songs of all time by Runner. Um, so I listened to the whole thing and it's very, very good. I've added it to my wheel, I think, on it as a good. Also, surprisingly, I listened to In Lieu of Flowers by Aaron West's and the Roaring Twenties. Are you aware of this band?
No.
Okay. I was looking at album of the year today and I was like, let's see what are some of the highest rated folk albums of the year. And this album just came out. I've not just it came out this year. But I looked at the 2020s and it is the highest rated folk album of the 2020s on album of the year, at least from a critic standpoint.
Mm.
So I guess just an aggregate of all of the critics. It's at a 93. Number two is Javelin at an 89. So that piqued my interest because I'm like, holy cow, 4 points better than Javelin. I know that isn't like a great representation of how the music
Yeah,
is because
critic score
it's
not.
just critics.
Yeah.
But I was curious. I'm like, yeah, I like Javelin quite a bit. And that probably is my top folk album of the decade so far. Let's check this out. It's not a folk record at all. I have no idea why it's categorized as a
Oh yeah,
folk
I do
record.
remember seeing this. Yeah.
It's, I guess, maybe the closest thing is maybe Midwest emo slash pop punk. Leans, I guess, leans more pop punk than Midwest emo, but like the voice is very Midwest emo. Like sometimes he's doing the Midwest emo thing. In some songs, he sounds exactly like Brendan Urie, to the point I had to look up if Brendan Urie was actually like, is this like a side project that he's doing? Because it sounds just like him. But it is phenomenal. I listened to the whole thing. And if I'm saying that a pop punk Midwest emo album is phenomenal, then you know
That's
it's
true.
good because I am not usually one to like this type of music, but man, it rips and the lyrics are really, really, really good. I think technically I think it's a conclusion of a trilogy because this is like a side project, like a side solo project from a guy who's in a band. And he's just doing this like trilogy of three albums, and it's the same character throughout all three. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and listen to the other ones, but man, off rip, this album's pretty G dang good. I don't know if I personally like it more than Javelin, but it's very good and I've added it to my wheel. So a little tip of the
Yes, sir.
cap to In Lieu of Flowers. But I think that's it. That's all that I have, all the albums that I've listened to this week.
Sweet.
So that's what I'm doing. I listened to some of Wasteland Baby from Hosier, and I'm like, I like this more than I like the self-titled, and I didn't finish it. So maybe I don't like it more than I like the self-titled. So maybe I'll go back and finish it. But that was my music stuff this week. I did add. I don't know if you are aware of the R&B group Flow. Um, they have an album coming out on November 15th.
Okay.
And I've heard the single "Caught Up," and it is very, very, very good. So I think I think it'll be a good one. So
Let's do it.
we'll maybe do that depending on what else is coming out because it sounds like November's going to be
Debut
busy.
album too.
It's their debut. I think have they released an EP?
They've had singles since 2022
Okay, but no
and a
EP.
couple EPs.
Oh, a couple. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I've listened to Caught Up and Check. But I guess they released another single since then to announce the album. I don't know if all of these songs are going to be on the album. Hopefully not. But it's a great like throwback to like 90s R&B groups like TLC or Destiny's Child. Caught Up sounds like a TLC song, and I mean that as a compliment. So I don't know. We could be in. It's pretty good. So I added that. So that's it for me.
R&B boy genius.
Could be. Well, I don't know if they have solo careers outside of this.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Okay.
At least not under their real names.
Well, yeah. I don't know. So that's it. That's it for me in terms of music. I listened to. I guess not. I listened to the song on the Father John Misty Best of album. That's the new one,
Mhm.
and it was pretty good.
Like 8 minutes or something.
It's 8.5 minutes. It doesn't really change like an 8.5 minute song should, but it's fine. It's like a disco song almost. It's a
Interesting.
weird turn for Father John Misty, but I thought it sounded pretty good. So I don't know if I can justify him releasing a greatest hits album, but he did do it. So
He would do it though.
he would do it, and he did do it. And I have no qualms with the songs that he picked as his greatest hits. I don't know if I would categorize "Holy Shit" as a greatest hit. It has 14 million streams, but that doesn't seem like a hit to me. Just seems like a
He's
song,
probably being sarcastic.
I guess. But
I don't know.
how do you do a greatest hits album sarcastically?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
It fits the character.
It does fit the character, unfortunately. I just wish we got a new album instead of a greatest hits
Yeah.
album.
Yeah.
Not saying that he always delivers on albums, but I would rather take the chance.
Yeah. You can wait till next year. We've got enough covered this year.
Well, that's true. That is definitely true. But speaking of
Okay.
music, stay tuned on the Boy Time channel because we are
Yes,
going
sir.
to be the Mount Erie video will be coming out soonish. That we did
Before the end of the year.
before well, that one will be
Oh,
coming
yeah.
out soonish. But
Mount
I
Erie
meant
will
that
be out,
the microphones Mount Erie
Yes.
video will be coming out.
Very confusing. That'll be out very soon.
Yeah, one will be out very soon. And then we are doing Phoebe Bridgers' Punisher, which I'm very excited about.
Yes, sir.
So, and then after that, I think we should probably do Bon Iver.
Yes, we should
So finish that up.
finish it up. And then we got to do Fleet Foxes too.
Of course. I'm very excited for Fleet Foxes and this album, but nobody ever talks about I. So I assume that's for a reason, but also this discography thing that we've been doing for him has surprised me at every turn. So who knows? Maybe I will be my favorite.
It could be. I mean, people have come around to it in the recent years. I think
Oh.
it's just when you have those three behemoths, it's hard to like.
Well,
The fourth guy, unfortunately, gets left out of conversations.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I didn't expect 22 a million to be my favorite.
Yeah,
And
it's the Section 80 of the Bon Iver discography.
I or 22 a million.
I
Oh,
would
okay.
say, yeah.
22 a million is definitely the damn, I guess.
Mr.
Well,
Morale, maybe.
no, yeah.
There's not really a good comparison.
No, there's not. I guess for Emma, it's probably closest to Good Kid because it's like a story. It's not even really a story. I don't know.
And everybody agrees it's a classic, no matter what.
That's
So,
true.
It's the safe choice.
But then Bon Iver almost seems like damn because it's like the most popular and it has all the hits on it. But then that makes And then 22 million being T-Pab kind of makes sense then.
Does make
Because
sense.
it's like the best one, but it's also like the artsiest one.
The weirdo
A
one.
weirdo one, I guess. And everyone said it was boring. Everyone says that he fell asleep. Or at least J. Cole said that.
I can't get through it.
It's too long.
And then he's like, I'm sorry.
I
I didn't mean
apologize.
it. I apologize.
It was a big oopsie. I'm going to delete the
Whoopsie-doo.
song. Actually, the song that I think is good and that will stand up to the test of time is Grippy,
Real.
which is a good song. Everyone agrees. Grippy is probably J. Cole's best song, and I'm willing to put that on record.
Best song this year.
Well, that's true. It's also his best song, I think. It's the
Yeah.
only one that I've heard. So
It's entertaining.
I think it is probably the best song of his that I've heard. Is it even his song?
No.
Okay.
It's
Cash Cobain.
what's the guy's name? Cash Cobain.
Well, then it's definitely the best Cash Cobain song I've heard because I've definitely not heard any of his stuff.
Me
So-
neither.
So, yeah, stream Grippy, and
Stream Grippy.
and if you can find it, you might have to go on the dark web. You should listen to 7 Minute Drill because that one
Yep.
is very good too.
So good.
Very, very good. It really deconstructs Kendrick Lamar as a person.
Had to get taken down because it was too powerful.
It was too powerful. That was the thing about it. Everyone on Twitter got upset, and J. Cole was like, actually, I don't think y'all were ready for it. I think it'll come back in 2
I'll
years.
shelve this for later.
Yeah. You see, in 2 years, Kendrick Lamar is going to come out as a horrible, he's going to be a Trump supporter or something, and he's going to admit to punching babies. And it's going to be very popular to hate on Kendrick Lamar. And so then J. Cole is going to drop it again. He's going to say,
Slip that
actually, it
under
wasn't a
there.
mistake.
Yeah. I meant it this time.
I meant it. He's not even going to announce it. He's just going to
Just be back
quietly
on the
put it
album.
back on.
Yeah.
And then everyone is going to be listening to Might Delete later because it's going to be reintroduced into the zeitgeist as a hidden gem in J. Cole's
Mhm.
discography. And they're like, wait, that song is back.
I don't see any issues with this.
You know? Well, see, I'm not usually the predictions guy, but I think this one's going to come true. The writing's been on the wall for Kendrick.
Crazier
for-
things have happened.
Everyone's been saying, there's something off about that Kendrick guy. Maybe he's
Kendrick
not
was
every-
actually the supplier of Kanye's nitrous. That's gonna be the thing.
Oh. Yeah, that's true. They met up on
And
the
they
no
have
parties in
nitrous
LA.
today. Yeah.
And then, they gave him the nitrous. And then Kendrick was like, I found whippets. Would you like some of these, Kanye? Kanye said, yes, of course. I would love to do that. And then telepathically tell a woman to steal a car. Which is a news story that will date this video and probably won't age well because nobody's going to remember that in 2 weeks.
It's okay. It happened like a week ago, so
Okay.
we're already late on it.
Okay, perfect. Now, do you think that's real? Do you think that Kanye West has telepathic abilities?
I hope not.
You hope not. Well,
I really hope not.
let's put it this way. Has Kanye West telepathically communicated to you?
If it takes me this long to think of an answer, I don't know the answer. It's possible.
Could
Like
that...
he made Devil in a New Dress
He did. He did. And Rick Ross.
and Rick Ross.
Rick Ross was in that.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't he
Yeah.
on that song?
Maybe, yeah, he was in that song.
Okay.
Famously.
I have not listened to that album in a while. Okay, yes, it is Rick Ross. Okay. Just wanted to check. Yeah.
He would put subliminal messages in his beats, though. I could see it.
But would it say steal a car?
Although there's nothing subliminal about Kanye, so I feel like he'd just tell someone to steal a car.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I did it just for the fun of it. Not even because
For the
Kanye.
love of the game.
Yeah, yeah, you see like a 2002 Toyota Corolla sitting in a parking lot, like in the
Hmm.
back of a Walmart, and you're like, you know what? I need this. I don't even,
They won't even care that it's gone.
I know. It's like, I have a better car than this, marginally.
Yeah,
Um, but I just want to do it for the thrill. Sometimes it just feels nice to be wanted,
that's true.
whether that's
By the law.
criminally or by a sweet sweetie or lover. Um, so yeah, that's it for us. Bye.